Hi, I'm Masano, and I'm going to show you how to set up a namespace in an HCP so that you can easily update your HDIs. So if you don't create this namespace, you would have to physically go out to the HDI and either put the CD in the HDI or put a USB stick in order to upgrade that HDI to the latest code. So this will allow you to put the information on the HCP, and then from within the HDI management console, you'll have a button that you press, and it'll download it and do it all automatically, so there's no need to go on site. So first you're going to need to get your hands on the actual ISO. So in this case, it's on my desktop here, and it's FS, and the code is 6.1.1. But we can't use it as a native ISO. We have to expand it. So in this case, I just expanded the ISO and created this folder. And here's the folder. And we're only going to use a couple files out of this folder. You know, the install file and the version file are the only ones we're going to use. So we're going to create a namespace in the tenant, and then we're going to put files in that tenant. So now I'm going to go onto my HCP console, the management console, log into that, and then I'm going to go to tenants. And in this tenant, we have I have an HDI test tenant, and that's where my HDI resides. So I'm going to go to that tenant. In that tenant, there have spaces. So let's look at the namespaces. I'm clicking at namespaces. So when HDI is first installed and connected to the tenant, it creates a namespace for it. And here it is. It's FS1 and all these long letters. And then also there's a system backup data namespace where all the HDIs store the system information as a backup. We're going to create another namespace called system install, and that's where we're going to put the files for the updates. So we're going to create a namespace, and it has to be called system install. I'm going to make it about 5 gig. Get whatever you would like, but it has to be big enough to hold the files. If you want to keep multiple versions out there, that's something that you can do. And then we just click Create Namespace. Name was successfully created, and dismiss. Now we have to give ourselves access to that space so that we can put files in it. So here I go to the user account I'm using, which is ADSCE. And you can see down here, it already has some rights to these namespaces. We have to assign it to the namespace we just created. So there it is down here, custom install. So we're going to click on that. I give it all rights because we have to be able to put files in that initially. So depending on what your security situation is, you may have to put all on it so you can put them in and then remove them just after you let security's happy. But I'm assigning all of the rights right now, and then we say assign namespaces, and that was successfully done. Now if we go back and look at that user again, we show these namespace, and there it is. Here's the namespace down here. I can expand it and see the permissions. Okay, so now that this namespace is created, we have to put the data into it. We do that via something called HCP Data Migrator. It can be downloaded directly from the console right here on the upper right-hand side, CPDM. Now, this is only available in the tenant management console screens. It isn't available in the HCP management console. So you can do this from any tenant, but not from the main one. So we just click on that, download it, I put in my downloads folder, and then I'll just execute it, and it expands it right here. I want it in my downloads folder. I want it someplace where I can use it. So I'm going to drag that and put that on my desktop. Okay. I'll probably have it there. Okay, so here's on my desktop. So if we open this up, what we need to go into is the bin directory and then start migrator.bat. I like to create a nice little shortcut because I use it often. Create a shortcut here. and I start it. I leave shortcut on my desktop. You don't have to do that. So Data Migrator, think of it as kind of like FTP client, right? So we have a window on the left, a window on the right, file systems. Right now is pointing to my desktop. I need to point it to the that I created with ISO. So that's this down here that I showed you. So to that folder. We need to create a profile in order to connect to the HCP, much like you would do in an FTP client. So you're going to create, click at this here, but profile, and name system-install just so it correlates to that namespace. So when you look at it, you'll know, oh, okay, that was for the system install namespace. You can put more information here if you want to, but my recommendation. We click Next. It's at HCP 6.0 or later. We're going to connect by domain. If you have the IP address, you could do that. And put in the information on the tenant namespace and username. So the tenant was HDI test. The namespace we just created was system-install. And HSCE is the one that we assign those rights to. So let's not confuse over usernames, because if you recall, there are many users can be created. So we can have usernames at the main HCP management console. And when we create a tenant, we give that person a, admin or godlike username, and they can create additional usernames under that tenant. So HDSCE is defined in the HDI test tenant. Just want to make it clear on that. And then we're going to check custom metadata, because we are going to use that. Our connection. Okay, found the namespace. We had the proper rights to connect to it, and everything is good. So that's good. So now up to here and see that profile, system install, and to it, and here we are. There's nothing in it right now. Every namespace gets a lost and found. So we're going to create some very specific folder directories in here. So we right-click in the area and say New Directory, and we're going to call it System. Okay. And then we're going to open System, and we're going to create another directory called HDI, all in uppercase. Okay. And go into that one. Now what we're going to do is transfer this file, the install files tar.gz. This is the payload, right? You can see it's 1.05 gig. We're going to transfer that over to the namespace. So click transfer. Now to do some things to it, we have to add some custom metadata to it, to the file. So we're going to click Custom Metadata tab and read it from file. So we're going to choose. We're going into that same folder, the FOS folder on desktop that we created, and you'll see there's a version.xml file. So that's the file that's associated with that ISO that we created. And just click Run. So it's putting the file up on the HCP, and it's adding the custom metadata to it so that HDI can recognize and know and understand what it's for. We can see the process is happening. We're transferring 19 megasecond, runtime 16 seconds. So it's giving some information about it, and hopefully in a few minutes. And completed. We can see big green up here, completed, and then just close. The file, it is there in the system HDI directory. Now, what we do is we can go to our actual HDI that we create and log into that. And we can see here that this API is at 5.2.0. And we log in. And then we go to Resources. See that this software update button in Settings appears. If we didn't have that namespace in there, this guy wouldn't even have this selection. You wouldn't know it was here. It would be hidden. So say Software Update. It says, oh, I did. I found 6.11 out here. Do you want to upgrade? So it wants you to really back it up first. So let's back up the configuration. Save all system settings. And then we can get them. It's going to take a couple minutes. It's going to go through and download all these settings. And it's done. So we can just save this right to our folder, and it's downloaded. So we can click this and close. Oops. We can safely say, yes, I've backed up the system, and let's do the install. So it's going to start the install, download it, prepare to install it, and start installing. Not as intuitive as you would think. It's actually going to just say a message is going to pop up and say install. It is installing, and give it 30 minutes, and it'll reboot itself and then come back in 30 minutes. So let's see. So we're loading it right now. Taking it off the HCP tenant into the HDI. So it hit 100% downloaded. It's preparing to install. Okay, and here's the message. Installation started. Wait about 30 minutes and then log in again. URL below, which is the URL you should be using. The estimated completion time at 10 o'clock. which for me is another 30 minutes from now. And then it typically does work. So you come back to that URL, you're just going to click on it, and you'll see that once you get to log in first, and you'll be able to see the version that you're at and that the upgrade went successfully. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My name is Tom Masano, and have a great day. Thank you.